Hello, everyone. Here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, I'm joined by the very well-known and famous Rajdeep Sardesai. Welcome to Australia.
Thank you very much.
So we're outside here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, Border Gavaskar Trophy. How big is this competition?
It's huge. I think the Border Gavaskar Trophy has become bigger every time it's played because, quite simply, India is now the capital of world cricket.
Right.
And Australia is arguably a country not just passionate about cricket, but very good at the game. So when you've got these two giant sides, arguably the world's number one side, that's the Australians, versus the side that could well contend for number one and is clearly the capital of world cricket. What more do you want?
Rajdeep, tell me, you travel around the world, you've been to plenty of cricket games, you've seen the non-resident Indians, and you can hear the drums in the background. How much does cricket define the identity of the NRIs?
Hugely. Cricket is a religion in India.
What does that mean? Because everybody uses that word.
I tell you what it means. It's the cricket community is a bit like a congregation going to pray in front of a stadium. The stadium is our temple, our mosque, our church.
Right.
This is where the cricketers are our gods now. And the good thing about it, and I say this off, cricket brings people together. I think, religion can divide. Cricket is a unifying religion. It doesn't matter which caste, which community you belong to. This is the religion that unites people simply for the love of the game. And that's what's so special about Indian cricket. And that sense of unification is not just restricted to national boundaries. It's global. It's transnational. So you could be sitting here in Melbourne, you could be in London, you could be in the United States. As long as you enjoy cricket, you're part of the community.
You talked about religion uniting the country. What do you think? Is religion at times dividing a country also?
Organized religion based on communities can divide, particularly when it enters the realm of politics. I think that's the difference. When religion and politics come together, it can be toxic and can divide at times. When sport becomes the religion in a way of our times, or music, then it unifies people. I've always celebrated Indian cricket for that reason. It's a great unifier. I played the game at a relatively junior level, but what I always used to celebrate is that I had friends who were from different groups, different communities. But when we came on the cricket field, we were always one. There was no sense of difference on the cricket field. And that's always been the case in India. Mohammad Shami is bowling from one end, Umesh Yadav or someone else. It's not a Yadav and a Muslim. They're just Indians playing this great game. And that makes it feel so special.
Do you think that cricket takes so much oxygen in the Indian ecosystem that every other sports is starved of more money, support, funding, and so on?
This is a long-standing question and a dilemma that has confronted sport. And no doubt for the longest time that was true. That because a lot of sponsorship, lot of energy went into sort of promoting cricket or celebrating cricket, very little was left for other sports. And we were a one-sport nation for a very long time. But that's changing. We've just had the youngest world chess champion come from India. We've got a hockey team that's back on the rise. We have young players in table tennis, in badminton, doing remarkably well. We've done well in the Paralympics. We've got great archers. We've won medals in shooting. I think once you create a sporting culture, that's what we've lacked in the past. That's slowly happening. Corporate sponsors are entering other sports as well, Olympic sports in particular. And then you're able to sort of use that to start winning medals and inspiring others to follow suit. So I'm pretty optimistic that as a country grows and our growth rate, is among the fastest in the world in emerging economies. My sense is Indian sport will grow with it. I have no doubt. I mean, when you saw our javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra win an Olympic gold, who would have imagined this even 20 years ago, that we'd be winning a sport that's been always dominated by the Europeans. So things are changing. I mean, look at a PV Sindhu, 2 Olympic medals, has been a world champion in badminton. That's another sport where lots of young people are playing and coming up. I think as a nation sort of moves from becoming a lower income country to a middle income country, and then hopefully one day to a high income country, I don't know when that day will come, sports will will rise along with that,
Leisure
will be
time
part
will
of the
be-
rise.
Yes.
You'll have more leisure, you have a larger middle class. It just makes a huge difference. And you have now role models.
Yes. Now let's get to some of your other activities, which is writing books.
Yes.
You've recently come out with a book just after the conclusion of the 2024 elections. You've written books prior to the 2019 elections and then 2014 elections. What are the similarities you're seeing in these election patterns over the last, say, 10 years?
It's been a fascinating 10-year period in India. You've seen so much of change and churning. The BJP has emerged as the party number one now of India. No doubt about it. It is the dominant party of our times. You've also seen, in a way, the decline of the Congress in recent times, but also the fact that the Congress, as we saw in 2024, still is the principal opposition party. You've seen the rise of Narendra Modi, a charismatic, populist leader, someone who attracts strong emotions on both sides. Either you're strongly pro-Modi or anti-Modi. Like so much else in India, politics also is going through a period of intense churn, and documenting it has always fascinated me, which is why I've written this trilogy, the latest being 2024, the election that surprised India. It's done very well. It's among the top books on Amazon. On the cover of the book this time, I have a woman voter. So this is one of the other phenomenon of India is gender power. Women now matter in politics, sport, in all fields of activity. I believe the future is female in a strange way, because I think they've been kept down for way too long. And I do see
How's the empowerment coming? Is it coming organically or what's pushing it forward?
That's a good question. I think it's both organic at one level. Many companies are realizing that if I have a more diverse workforce, which includes a large number of females, it enhances my brand value to possibly to wider markets out there. Because women are now consumers, far more employable than they were 25, 30 years ago. You therefore have more women coming through the management schools, through medical schools. We are a 50-50 country. So while I can talk up gender power, there are still women who suffer from discrimination, who still do not get the opportunities they deserve. But I am hopeful. I was in Haryana a few months ago and I saw these young women wrestlers. And I was so glad to see all the men watching them in awe almost. And, Haryana was a state which had one of the worst sex ratios in India till a few years ago. But I can see signs of change that, now it is okay for my daughter to go and wrestle on a mat, because we've now had wrestling champions as well. It's changing. Slowly. I mean, that slow change is something that you've got to accept in India. It's going to be incremental at times, but it is definitely changing in the right direction.
Right. Coming a little bit back again to politics. Where do you see politics at the moment? Is the star of BJP waning? Is Mr. Modi losing its luster? Where are we at the moment?
Look, he's still the leader number one. I think the brand is perhaps not as strong as it was 10 years ago. Like every brand, it needs reinvention. It was exciting and new when it came in. And when I say brand Modi, I mean someone who was seen to represent change or promised a new sort of achhe din or good days. Now, that's a mixed record. After 10 years in power, there are some areas where there's been remarkable growth, like infrastructure, physical infrastructure. There are other areas, I think, in terms of communal harmony, social relations, where there are still question marks. There are still small and medium enterprises that have struggled in recent times, especially post-COVID. So it's a mixed track record. But I think the overall political landscape of this country, the unfortunate part is money power. Money power now has corroded Indian politics to the nature that you need to be a crorepati several times over to contest elections at times. On the positive side, I would say the fact is that we are an extremely diverse society now. So I see from different corners of the country new leaders emerging, aspirational, energetic. I just hope that those energies are channelized and given more space and opportunity. India needs to be the land of ultimate opportunity. I think we still are an unequal society where a few people still get far more opportunities than many others. And I think that is, to my mind, the one.
But isn't that the true nature of capitalism, which is what India is leaning towards?
Yes, it is. Middle class Indians like me to dare to dream, to start a TV channel. I wouldn't have dreamt of starting a TV channel on my own 40 years ago. There was no space or opportunity. There was just Doordarshan. All of that has changed. We have 400 24/7 news channels in this country. So, I'd like to believe that if we are able to offer equal opportunities, especially in education and health, to more and more Indians, we will build a better India. To my mind, that is the single biggest challenge for the next 50 years. Governments must invest more in that. We invest far too little in that. And if that happens, I trust me, no one can halt the Indian juggernaut.
Just staying on the leadership of both the Congress Party and the BJP, going into the next election 2029, do you see the combatants still being the same, or do you see a change?
That's a dangerous question to answer, because in India, a week can be a long time in politics. 5 years.
Anywhere in the world can be a week, a long time in politics.
So you never know what will happen in 2029. My sense, though, is Mr. Modi is not going anywhere. He's still going to contest, I believe, even 2029.
How old will he be?
He'll be 79. Rahul Gandhi is not going anywhere. He will be, 59? 20 years difference. But Rahul Gandhi, the Congress party is still, I think, almost wedded to the Gandhi family. But I also...
To its detriment? Or do you think something needs to change?
No, I think something... Look, I think a change is the one constant of life. And I think even parties like the Congress need to recognize that. I think they've been caught at times in a time warp. A new India wants new, fresh ideas and leaders. And I hope they emerge. I still haven't seen enough of that. But I do hope that both these major parties, even the BJP, is going to have to start thinking after Modi who. And I think the Congress at some stage is going to have to say, without the Gandhi family, are we saying we can't survive and thrive? Are there no other leaders out there? I really hope that in a country of 1.4 billion people, we can throw up more leaders representing the true diversity of this wonderful land of ours.
Rajdeep, now we come across in Australia the overseas friends of BJP, the overseas Congress party. So there seems to be a fair bit of emphasis on attracting and getting opinions from the non-resident Indians. Why do you think that's important?
Look, I think, I call it long distance nationalism. There are lots of Indians living in different parts of the world who feel strongly about India. No problem with that. I do sometimes, though, get troubled when even long distance nationalism can divide. As you said, overseas friends of BJP versus overseas friends of Congress. I think particularly outside this country, we must present as far as possible a united front. As people, as Indians, we must have our own political beliefs and ideologies. But let's not make it us versus them. Let's make it at least in public fora more united, even while we have strong debate, because it can breed intolerance.
Right.
I mean, my problem is, please have different viewpoints. Encourage diversity, but please do not make the other person the enemy. If today I express a view on the show with you, which is interpreted by some as anti-Modi, that doesn't mean I'm anti-national.
Correct.
I think we've ended up creating very, very strong divides among people. And therefore, NRIs or people outside India must recognize that. Can we find spaces at least, or areas where we can unite? Our political beliefs should be ours, and you should be perfectly entitled to hold those. Do not use them in a manner to breed intolerance against the other. Stop othering, either a Muslim or someone else who belongs to another community. As long as they're all Indians, we must celebrate the idea of Indianness.
Right. Before I conclude, I want to circle back into the cricket thing. We have had two very senior Indian cricketers, Kohli and Sharma, are not really firing. What should the selectors be doing?
A great question. As a cricket fan, it's a question I think that all of us are. I think there must come a time when a cricketer who's played for so long for India must know time is up. And I think, like in every field of life, sport is a baton relay. One generation hands it over to the next. And I do believe a time will come when both Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli will know on their own that their time is up. You could nudge them if necessary. That is also important for any selector to do. But leave the final call to them. And if you feel that they've now outgrown their utility, then say goodbye. We must be able to say both. We must be able to know when to say goodbye, both as cricketers and as selectors. Sometimes you take tough decisions. I remember, I think in Australia, was it Ian Healy who was retired after his 99th test?
Correct.
So it can happen to the best of us. So be ready to take those tough decisions. And I think players themselves, because both Kohli and Sharma have been legends. Kohli in particular is, I reckon a cricketer who transformed Indian cricket in the last decade and a half. I hope we give them a little bit more space without every day asking this question. When will you retire? When will you retire? As they said famously, you should retire when people say why and not why not.
Correct. Thank you, Rajdeep, for your time and sharing.
It's been wonderful to be here, and the hospitality in Australia is always great.
You're welcome back anytime again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.